Welcome to the Living the Dream podcast with Curveball. If you believe, you can achieve. Welcome to the Living the Dream with Curveball podcast, a show where I interview guests that teach, motivate, and inspire. Today, we're going to be talking health and technology, as I am joined by health technology expert and retired U.S. Navy commander, Darlene Greene. She's going to be talking about all the things that she's done in her long, successful career with health and technology, and also about her Navy career. So, Darlene, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you, Curtis. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
Why don't you start off by telling everybody a little bit about yourself? You have an amazing bio.
Thank you. Well, I served 20 years in the Navy. I entered the Navy after going to the University of Virginia on a Navy ROTC scholarship. And I had a great time in the military. I did 3 commanding officer tours. My last one was over 1,200 people. And I noticed, I listened to your podcast with Daniel Dunn and other veterans. They talk about the difficulty in transitioning back. And I will tell you, I saw that as a commanding officer over 1,200 people. A lot of them were being mobilized to go to Afghanistan at the time. And they were going as individuals. So they were coming back as individuals. The family didn't have a support network either. So what I ended up doing was standing before my command and saying, I'd like to build a program that does a better job supporting you and your families when you're transitioning back. I don't really know what that program needs to look like, but I'm betting you do. Can you help me with that? And let's build it together. And I got about 40 volunteers right away. And we began first researching where could we find a program that we could just adopt and use at our own command. But there wasn't anything, because every returning warrior program that was in existence across the world was designed for units. And we had a situation that was very different. In fact, part of the problem was that these were individuals. So we built a program, we built a curriculum, we trained facilitators, we invited renowned expert speakers, and built a program with returning warriors and their spouses, where we helped them to understand what they were going through was not unique to them. I mean, certainly their experience was, but that they weren't alone, and that there were many others that were experiencing similar issues as they were. And we also provided things like training on PTSD, the information around the code of the warrior and how warriors had been transitioning back and having challenges and going through processes to reintegrate into civilian society since the Greeks and the Trojans, and even small group discussions around things like one of the questions you asked in that podcast was, why does everybody want to go back? And this was a really big problem for spouses. Imagine your loved one has been gone for a year. You're finally getting them back. And the first thing they say the week they get back is, I have to get back there. I want to go back. I'm signing up to go back. This was devastating to spouses. So when you've got them in a small group and you have a facilitator, and the facilitator says, how many of you want to go back? And every one of them raises their hands. Now the spouses look around and think, okay, this isn't about me. This isn't about my marriage. This isn't even about my husband. This is something bigger that I don't understand. And then we would talk through some of those things. So it was a really amazing program. We called it the Returning Warrior Weekend Workshop. And then I was asked to spread it across the Southwest region, which I did. And then over time, it was spread throughout the nation. And 17 years later, it's still in existence today, helping our service members and their families to better reintegrate into their lives as they return from war. So I'm really, really proud of that. I had a lot of intrinsic reward in that program, because I'd have very salty Navy chiefs and people that had been in a long time hugging me at the end of them and saying what a difference it made in their lives, that it saved their marriage. I've had letters that said it saved their lives. So really remarkable. And it was how I left the Navy, and it was a very difficult thing to leave, but also it was it was time for me to retire. I'd done 20 years and I was ready to move on. So my first job out of the military then was in information technology, network and security and voice and data. I oversaw architects, engineers, project managers, and then a little bit later moved into the software side of the house as a vice president for McAfee in their strategic technology partner department. So I was kind of the face between IT, information technology, and the rest of the business, and had the project managers, program managers, architects, engineers, and so forth, and enjoyed that. And from there went on to be a dean of a girls' academy, a boarding school. My daughters wanted to go to this school in Indiana called Culver Girls Academy, and we moved there really because they wanted to go to school there. And I left my job, and I was not sure what I was going to do in this tiny town of Culver. But it was the first time in my life that I made a move like that wasn't really based on my career. And it was tough for me because I had to be convinced that this was really that good of a school and really amazing for them. And it was, and it certainly was a great thing for our whole family. But when I got there and the dean position opened up, I was like, well, I could do that. So became the dean of the Culver Girls Academy, enjoyed that immensely. And then as I actually stayed in that not that long. It was one of those jobs that really, beyond being, I certainly was used to working 24/7. But what I needed to be able to do is when my daughters and my husband had availability to be available to them. And what I found was I was sort of a mother to 350 girls, and that the two that were really mine were often not highest in the priority list of because there was always something going on in somebody's life, a death in the family or a very challenging situation. So it was a job better suited for someone that was, I think, single or didn't think that they needed to be at every event and doing all the things I thought were necessary. So moved on to being a consultant for a company in San Francisco where I helped them with their leadership, their technology, their communication, how to be holding others accountable, and setting up kind of a team cultural value vision. And then moved back to Arizona and was helped to stand up a program management office as a director of client services for high-tech networks and security, and have been doing that job for 6 years now. Great company, love that. And then about 3 or 4 years ago, my husband contracted, well, I guess was diagnosed, because certainly Alzheimer's is one of those things that you have for years before it's ever really diagnosed. And in fact, probably 15, 20 years actually before people start to notice that. But my husband began a fairly significant neurological decline. And when we noticed it and I began researching what to do about it, everything pointed to stem cells. So Curtis, we went out of country 4 times in a year at very high expense to try stem cells. And not only for him, but for me as well, because I have been diagnosed with several autoimmune disorders, from chronic fatigue syndrome and fibromyalgia to POTS, which is postural orthostatic tachycardia. And the stem cells didn't do anything for him or me, even though we did it 4 times in a year. We tried other things like hyperbaric chamber. We completely revamped the diet and exercise to follow a Dr. Bredeson's protocol. Nothing was making a difference. And so ultimately we were at a place in time where I'd really lost my husband. He was disengaged from conversations. They were just too challenging for him. He was napping the day away. So sometimes napping 3.5 hours a day and then falling asleep at 7 o'clock at night. It was just really, I think life was just so exhausting for him. He wasn't even trying to be funny anymore. And this was core to his personality. So it was really hard, certainly asking the same questions over and over again, which was hard as a care provider. Anyway, so somebody who knew that we had gone out of country for stem cells said, hey, there is a technology that helps you to activate your own stem cells. And I said, well, tell me about that. How does that work? And it worked by elevating a copper peptide in your body, which is known to activate your stem cells. And I learned a lot in diving into this. So I'll tell more about that. But what I can tell you is in the very first week of applying this patch, a photobiomodulation patch, which doesn't have anything in it. It's a non-transdermal patch, but it's reflecting the light that's in your own body back into you at a very specific wavelength to elevate a copper peptide. When I started them, my husband on those and myself, but let's talk about him first. He didn't sleep all week. Like he wasn't napping, he wasn't falling asleep. He was chatty and engaged in conversation. He was not asking me the same questions over and over again. And he was no longer a shell of his former self. He was back to being his own personality, his big personality. He was funny again. He was trying to be funny again, and that was just phenomenal in the very first week. And then over time, other things came back for him too. He regained the ability to whistle and drum to the beat, and even regained his sense of smell, which he had lost 15 years ago. So good things happened. His blood pressure dropped 37 points. His bald spot began to close in, and new hair growth came in. So a lot of amazing things happened for him. And so we were, I was just blown away by this technology. And for me, my situation was I stopped having any symptoms of any of my autoimmune disorders, which I was actually taking a medicine called fluticasone that was to elevate my blood pressure to keep me from passing out from POTS. And I don't have to take that medicine anymore. I don't have any symptoms of fibromyalgia or chronic fatigue anymore. I don't have rosacea anymore. I don't have regular headaches anymore. I got out of pain very quickly with a couple of the patches that are actually intended for pain. And I was able to stop stress eating and emotional eating and just calming. The best thing of all that happened, though, was I was probably clinically depressed, Curtis, after I broke my foot, I sprained my ankle, and I couldn't really exercise or get out of the house, and I was having to rely on my husband to do everything from get me a glass of water to just anything. And it was really hard because I realized that even just getting me a glass of water was really beyond him. And that's when I discovered how bad it was. And this happened, over 5 months. I was sitting in a chair essentially with this broken foot before they could operate. And I was depressed, but these patches lifted my depression and gave me a place to live in a place of gratitude and joy and energy again. I had more energy than I've had in a really long time. So I'm really, really grateful for the patches. And so I dove into what the heck is this? How is this doing this? What's going on here, and I learned a lot, and we can talk about that, but I want to make sure that I take a breath and give you a chance to ask a question here.
Well, what I wanted to ask is, and like I say, everything that you've done is definitely amazing and been through. And, I've never heard of that program that you talked about that you created before you left the military. But what I wanted to talk about is in the green room, you were saying that you were dealing with stem cells, but the FDA shot it down, and I want you to talk about that and why they shot it down and how you feel about that.
Yeah, so they didn't actually shoot it down. What they've done is they've said that stem cells are a drug. Even the ones in your own body are now considered a drug. So even though I have double-blind placebo-controlled studies that show that this technology activates and elevates your own stem cells, I can't say that anymore as of just like a month or two ago. So now what I have to say is that this patch elevates and activates copper peptide, GHKCU, and there are over 50 years of studies. You can Google GHKU in PubMed and see them. And you can see that it elevates and activates, increases stem cell, produces growth factors. I mean, GHKCU is phenomenal, protects lung cells. We'll talk about more about what it does. But so the FDA has kind of put a gag order because they want to own the words stem cells. And it's not just for our company, it's any company that's doing anything around stem cells. They're no longer allowed to do that. They want to own it. And I understand it's the future of medicine, and it is. I do believe that the FDA. This is Darlene's personal opinion, Curtis. You asked me my personal opinion. I'm going to tell you it's. I do believe that the FDA and Big Pharma are very closely in bed together and are mutually supportive of one another. And So I think that if it's not going to, if Big Pharma wants a way to figure out how to use stem cells for themselves and own the language around that. And honestly, imagine when you have people on these patches and they are activating their own stem cells and they are reversing their age and they are coming off of medications and they are no longer needing every kind of medication, from thyroid medication to blood pressure medication to cholesterol medication to headache medication, pain medication, even ADHD medication. Well, that's not good business for big pharma. And so I believe that there's an effort to, just like you can't even say vitamin C helps to prevent viruses anywhere anymore without getting those kinds of videos pulled off of YouTube. They're trying to keep this information from getting out to everyone. And I will tell you, I was pretty ticked off when I discovered this, because I had really done a lot of research to try to find what was possible to help my husband. And this did not come up anywhere. And when I come up with, I then find out that this company has been around 20 years. There were over 300 Olympic athletes that were wearing LifeWave patches in the 2008 Olympics. And that this particular patch that I'm talking about that elevates and activates copper peptide is called X39. And X39 has been proven in studies around the brain and in the heart, with regard to the heart, and every 6 weeks, the cardiovascular system is functioning as if it were 8 weeks younger. And then in another study of the brain that included EEGs, you could see the brain mapping changing, and you could see a reduction in inflammation in the brain. You could see an improvement in the nervous system and a balancing of the brain. And they proved that it supported cell and nerve regeneration and improved memory and focus and brain function and all of these things. So I really, I am talking with you today because there are people out there all over with very significant diseases, and there's nothing that stem cells can't help. I mean, when you look at GHKCU, just the studies in PubMed on just that, they talk about all the anti-cancer benefits, including resetting programmed cell death of human cancer cells like neuroblastoma and leukemia and breast cancer cells, but not affecting the healthy cells. And things like protecting lungs cells that are even COPD affected cells, and increasing wound healing. We talked about there are studies around increasing myostatin, which inhibits heart failure, and reducing fibrinogen, which is the top predictor of cardiovascular heart disease. All sorts of things that it does to promote nerve growth and nerve regeneration. And so all of these are really critical for me, for my husband with his brain, and also for me with my own lifting of the depression. So yeah, I'm speaking out because I'm frustrated that this isn't on the front page of every newspaper and in the news. There are so many stories of people who were literally on their deathbed, leukemia, end stage leukemia, and they were told, I'm going to give you this pill. This is my friend Robert. I'm going to give you this pill. It's going to kill you, but it will increase your quality of life until you die. And in 2 days, he's out of bed and no longer on pain meds. And in 2 weeks, he's traveling and he's throwing off his wheelchair and his walker, and he's living a high quality life. He had sold his cows. He was going to die. They were making arrangements for his death. That's where he was. And now he's out of bed fishing, and he bought all his cows back. He's living a great life. His white cell count dropped. There was another gal, Nikki. She had 4 to 6 months to live per the doctors. Lung cancer so bad she couldn't even swallow. And in 5 months on the patches, her scan shows completely cleared. And there's just, my friend with Parkinson's tremored since she's 5 years old, and she stopped tremoring in 3 weeks. So stem cells are your body's raw materials, and they can become any part of your body that's needed. And I think that a lot of people are just stuck in our Western medicine module. You have a disease, what's the drug or what's the surgery? And there are so many other things that are possible. And most people don't know, when you're 30, half of your stem cells are dormant, and when you're 60, they're almost all dormant, or that stem cells can go be anything. And when you're putting somebody else's stem cells in, that's very different than activating your own. It's a very, this is incredibly safe. There are no contraindications with any medicines. There's no disease, issue, illness, anything that this won't help. And they can go become brain or lung or kidney or heart or anything that they need to be. There's a doctor, an anesthesiologist, and a 40-year physician, Dr. Joseph Peck, who said, "This is the most significant medical breakthrough in my lifetime." And yet, it's really amazing that it's just not that most people aren't aware of it at all.
So are there other patches out there besides the ones that you are talking about? And if so, what do they do? How effective are they?
Yeah, the patches are out there. In fact, my website has a description of all of the different patches, but let's just talk about X30. Let's talk about how they work for a second. So if you walked out in the light, the sun hitting your body you'd make vitamin D. And people understand that when I get into the sun, my body makes vitamin D, and they mostly, or melanin for a suntan. And so they understand that wavelengths of light have power to stimulate targeted and beneficial responses. That's what photobiomodulation is. And in this case, this little patch is acting like a little mirror reflecting that light to you. And so the X39 patch is the patch. If you were only going to do one patch, that's the patch to do, because it will ultimately do all the things that the other patches do, with the exception of the pain patch. It will do all the things the other patches do. It just takes longer. I didn't want to wait the length of time to see how long it would take to have my husband's got such a severe issue that we added some additional supportive patches like Eon, which is an anti-inflammation patch. Since inflammation eats up stem cells, I didn't want to wait as long as, letting them get eaten up and not go to work for us. I wanted that inflammation to get lowered. Plus, inflammation is the root of so much evil anyway. We lowered his inflammation while we were raising his stem cells through activating and elevating copper peptide, and saw such amazing benefits right away. But what's amazing is there's no prescription required. They're in the same category as a Band-Aid. So they're a general wellness product. They're FDA compliant, and you can get them on my website. You can have a consultation with me where I walk through and explain what each of the patches do. You can get on a call with me and a doctor that I will set up that will walk you through any specific personal private questions that you might have about what's best for you or any issues. And really, there's no one that can't wear them, with the one exception that someone really that has had a transplant of an organ, like a kidney transplant or a lung transplant, that they're typically on drugs that lower their immune system to prevent the rejection of those organs. So this boosts your immune system so dramatically that you would want to be kind of holding hands with doctors through that process if you decided to do this. And there are a lot of people who have organ transplants who do get on the pouches because it improves the systems, all your organ systems, including the kidneys and the lungs. And so they've done that anyway. But that would be the one caveat I would say, that you would definitely want to be holding hands with a doctor, and really then making sure you're taking your measurements. Like my husband's blood pressure dropping 37 points. That's huge. So if he would have been on a blood pressure medicine, which I didn't allow, but they wanted him to be on, he would want to have to come off of that. So you would want to check your blood pressure. You want to check your cholesterol. You want to check your various system, thyroid even levels, because a lot of people just come off of those medicines. And if you weren't measuring, you wouldn't know the difference. There's a doctor, Dr. John Harmon, who wrote the book, How to Reverse Aging, A Comprehensive Guide to Copper Peptides. And he talks about the fact that you can get GHKCU through injection, but one doctor that was doing it 4 times a day wasn't getting the same elevation of GHKCU as our patch provides. And so he had a right branch bundle blockage in his heart. And after 14 months or 16 months, it was just completely gone and no longer there. And so there are a variety of patches to your question. There's a patch that raises and elevates the glutathione, which is the body's master antioxidant and immune booster. I mean, that's an amazing patch because the people that live the longest in the world have the highest levels of glutathione. And having immune disorders, autoimmune disorders, I was trying very hard to stay healthy through the pandemic. And I was taking IV glutathione or oral glutathione, which I found out later, the IV glutathione lasts in your system 7 minutes and it only raises my glutathione by 27%, where our patch elevates glutathione for 24 hours and it raises it 300%. And the blue zone people that live the longest, people that are 100, they have the highest levels of glutathione. So there's a reason it not only increases length of life, but it reduces inflammation and it builds cartilage. They did a study, Curtis, where you put an Eon anti-inflammation patch on one part of your knee and a glutathione patch on the other side of the knee, and you wear the X39 stem cell activation copper elevation patch. And what they found was that over a couple of months, the people that were, all of them were lined up to have a knee surgery. And after a few months, they did not have to have surgery because it had regrown and regenerated cartilage and improved they didn't have the knee pain anymore. And it was just phenomenal. So there's a host of patches, one for energy that's improving the mitochondrial function and also burning 300 extra or to 600 extra calories a day. It just helps to increase your energy like an Energizer bunny, not like a shot of caffeine or espresso, but like just kind of increase that so you don't have a dip and you just have enough energy to get through the day full speed ahead. And I love the energy enhancer patch. I also love Silent Night for getting good sleep. A lot of people aren't getting good sleep, and in terms of quality of sleep, much less length of sleep. And this naturally elevates serotonin and melatonin to help with that, which is also actually an antioxidant, so not a bad thing to have elevated anyway. There's a carnosine patch. There's a patch that I love that helps to improve the balancing of your hormones and supports the digestive system called SP6. And it really balances the endocrine system and the hypothalamus, the autonomic nervous system. What I love about it, though, is it helps prevent sugar cravings and hunger cravings. And as someone who, we cut out the sugar and the white flour and all of the junk years ago, you would think I would be over it. But I really, I really wasn't. And I'm just a self-proclaimed sugar addict. So I was thinking about it all the time, even though it wasn't in the house. So if there was just a little bit of sugar in something like chili roasted pistachios, man, I wanted to eat that whole bag like an addict. And this patch just completely calms that and takes away those cravings. So where I've had to white knuckle it my whole life really and be disciplined around my eating, and I've done a good job of that, but it's always been really hard. Now it's just not hard. It's just not something I'm thinking about or having to deal with.
So, what are the costs of these patches for any of us that might want to check them out?
Yeah, they're really inexpensive relatively. So the X39 patch, which is where you'd begin, is $99. I recommend everyone do, and that's for a 1 month supply. You basically wear the patch is the size of a quarter. You'd wear it like on the back of the neck or below your belly button. And it's $99 for 30 patches. So you put it on for 12 hours and then you take it off. And that's not to say that there's not a little bit more life left into it after, it's probably 18 hours of life. It starts to break down. Those nanocrystals that are hermetically sealed in the patch start to break down by the body heat and the light. But you don't want your body to get used to the signal. In that first 24 hours, it's resetting 3,000 to 4,000 genes to a younger and healthier state. And then you take that patch off and you can either put it on another loved one, or we often put it on our pets because they dramatically benefit. And then so $99 a month is what gets you going. And if you stopped right there, that would be great. I recommend you add the anti-inflammation patch, even if it's just for the first couple of months. So there's a great package called the Silver Kit, which is 2 X39s and 2 anti-inflammation patches or Eon for $299. The Eon is $49 in the introductory kits. And all the supplementary patches are $49 if you're buying them in the kit, or buying three supportive sleeves. They start at $69 and then drop to $59 and then $49 depending on how many you get. So really amazing price point, especially from someone who's gone and spent, we spent $10,000 for an IV per person 4 times, and saw nothing as a result of it, which is why I'm such a huge advocate. It's affordable. It's accessible. You don't have to go out of country. You can see all of the 90 clinical studies on the website. You can see the patents that show how it elevates copper peptide and what it's doing. You can see the testimonials of doctors. You can see the before and after pictures are amazing. I had pretty significant rosacea on my forehead that dermatologists they just couldn't fix it. And I had very dry skin, like eczema. And I was I traveled with the big Cetaphil cream tub because I was so dry all the time. And I just kind of hurt. And all of that cleared up. It took 3 months for my rosacea to clear up. It did not happen overnight. And my skin is now super soft and, just amazing things. So it's accessible, it's easy, it's just miraculous. My friend, the doctor, is literally considering leaving her practice to just do this because she's so tired of the approach around pharmaceuticals and not seeing anything that really benefits people through the model of pharmaceutical drugs. And this is making all the difference in the world. And of course, people listen to her because she's a doctor. So she's got a lot of people who have just amazing testimonials on pain. We haven't really even talked about the pain patch, and I have to spend a minute because it's probably my favorite thing to do is to patch people with IceWave. IceWave works by getting energy flowing through the body, and I guess pain is really just blocked energy. So after I had broken my foot and sprained my ankle and had a complete ligament tear and had to have it operated, I had been in pain for 5 months and was just really hurting. I put this IceWave, this is a 2-patch system. So you have a tan and a white patch, and I put it on my ankle, and my pain just went away immediately. I mean, within 15 seconds, pain goes away, Curtis. It's just phenomenal. And I couldn't believe it. So I take off the patches after the 12 hours are up, and within 15 minutes, my ankle is throbbing again and back to in full pain mode. So that is remarkable. And when I've had people that are, what's your pain level 1 to 10, and it's a 12, and you drop them to 0 in 15 seconds, and they're dancing around and crying in joy, that brought me and has brought me joy very similar to the intrinsic rewards I got from that Returning Warrior Weekend program. Just being able to help people with their health and getting, texts that say, actually, I had someone on video say to me, "You don't know this, but I was suicidally depressed. I was truly ready to just call it all in. And I feel so great now, and I'm out of the depths of darkness, and I have you to thank for that." And, that is something you don't forget. And there are so many people hurting right now, either with, mental health issues or physical health issues that need help. And they think the only thing they can do are pharmaceuticals. And this is such a healthy alternative that helps all the systems of your body.
Well, throw out your website so people can get on there and check it out and purchase some patches.
Yeah. So it's iamreverseaging.com. It's IamReverseaging.com. So iamreverseaging.com. And you can contact me there. You can send me a note that you heard it here with Curtis, and where you're located, so I know your time zone, and we'll connect and get you set up. Or you can just order directly from the website if you don't want to do that. But I will always reach out. If you do order, I will always reach out and just kind of offer some guidance, like you need to drink a lot of water. You need to drink half your body weight in ounces in water with the patches, because it's going to start flushing toxins out of your system. And so you need to make sure you're drinking enough water to get that flushed so it doesn't just get reabsorbed and that kind of thing. it's a pretty robust website, but there are a couple places where you can reach out and click and just kind of connect with me. And I would love for folks to do that. I would love to help anybody. I wish somebody had told me 2 or 3 years ago, because we would be in a very different place with my husband if that would have been the case.
Well, tell us about any upcoming projects that you're working on that people need to be aware of.
Curtis, I will tell you that I am doing a full-time job as a director of client services for High Tech Networks, and I am doing it's a full-time job to be a care provider. And occasionally I come on podcasts and speak about the patches because I'm super passionate about it. I am working hard every day to live in a place of gratitude in the midst of being in a very tough situation with my husband. He's certainly not cured. I do have him back in terms of his personality, but he's still very much like an adult toddler where he can't do anything by himself, including picking up clothes or grabbing a water bottle from the refrigerator. So I am, that is maxing me out. Like this is as much as I can offer the world at this time. And taking care of myself. I'm working hard to make sure that I keep my oxygen mask on first to make sure that I can take care of him. I realize that's a critical component here. So yeah, I will be just in the mode of sharing the patches and with the passion that I have, but also that my primary responsibility is to my husband right now.
I definitely understand that, and I'm definitely glad that you took the time to come on this podcast in your busy schedule. Close us out with some final thoughts. Maybe if that was something I forgot to touch on that you would like to talk about, or just any final thoughts you have for the listeners.
Well, I think people have a tendency to be very passive around their health and really believe everything their doctors say. And they have sometimes, if I would have believed in any of my doctors, there's no cure for fibromyalgia, there's no cure for chronic fatigue syndrome, there's no cure for POTS. You're going to live with this your whole life. Certainly, there's no cure for Alzheimer's, and yet I'm completely symptom free from all of those things. And my husband has made improvements. And so I guess it would be to have hope and to do your own research and look for opportunities like this one of elevating and activating your copper peptide and stem cells and go look at it. Someone, if it's not yourself, someone who needs these. And I really would encourage anybody to take a look at the website and try it. You have nothing to lose. There's a money back guarantee even. So, it doesn't hurt. They recommend trying it for 1 month for every decade you are old to activate and elevate the copper peptide necessary to activate and elevate all of those stem cells that you have dormant.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, if you know of anybody that can benefit it, you want to check it out yourself, check out IamReverseAging.com. Contact Darlene. I'm definitely even wanting to look into this. So follow, rate, review, share this episode to as many people as possible. If you have any guests or suggestion topics, cjackson102@cox.net is the place to send them. As always, thank you for listening. And Darlene, thank you for joining us and sharing this life-changing technology.
Thank you, Curtis. Thanks for all that you do. You're a very prolific podcaster and you have amazing guests. It's an honor and a privilege for me to be among them.
For more information on the Living the Dream podcast, visit www.djcurveball.com. Until next time, stay focused on living